Good evening, folks. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This meeting takes place in the traditional and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. Move on to additions and deletions of the agenda. There isn't any that I'm aware of. And I'd just also like to start by welcoming our new bylaw officer, Lex Hatt, to the employment of the town. Welcome to the team. And if you walk in the town hall downstairs to pay a bill, Nancy Pugh is our new administrative position. So again, Nancy, welcome aboard the new team. So we'll move on to approval of the agenda. That council approved the agenda for May 26, 2026 meeting is presented. It's moved by Councillor Strong. It's seconded by Councillor Fullerton. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Approval of the minutes. Recommendation that council approve the May 12th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented. Is there a move by Deputy Mayor? Oh, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I move that they be approved with just one minor amendment, and that's that there's two recesses noted, and there was just one. And Kayla knows which one that is, and just for the final record, that would be removed.
Okay, so moving it with those with that correction. Is there a seconder? Councillor Greek. All those in favor, raise your right hand. There are no presentations. We're at the public input and question part. Quite sure there's nobody signed up tonight. There is a person in the audience. If they'd like to speak, this would be your time to speak if you'd like to. If not, all good. Excellent. Okay, so we have no public presentations. Correspondence, basically there's a few items we had. There's one there, just an update from SODA, and I just like to say that Councillor Fullerton and Councillor Strong are attending a roundtable being hosted by SODA tomorrow, Thursday at noon, so they'll come back with some great information after that meeting. There's no business arising or unfinished business. So we're on to 11.1, paid parking bylaw, second and final reading. So, Shania.
Shania and I are both here to answer any questions. But just for council's consideration, as you noted, we have the second and final reading of the updated paid parking bylaw, which has been before council now a few times, and for which a public hearing was held at the last meeting. At that public hearing, one member of the public spoke, and I would say it was generally in regards to parking in general for the town and not necessarily the intent of the bylaw. And we received no written submissions. Since the last time council saw this bylaw, there's only been one change, as discussed at the last meeting, is a updated purpose section, which includes more of that turnover and the other reasons for why the bylaw helps, including supporting the maintenance and administration of municipal parking, but also supporting that turnover that we just talked about. So with that, we'll leave it there. If council has any questions, Shania and I are both here to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions for either Shania or Kayla? Deputy Mayor?
Didn't want to disappoint anyone, not ask a question. And so we've gone through this a lot, and I really just a compliment on the revised purpose, because I think that captures it really well. So I appreciate that. And I've raised the issue before about the short-term parking and the 30-minute limit parking, which I think is a very good idea. I think my issue with it, or my concern, is still just one around kind of admin for it. Like it's a bit harder to police, because you have to sort of mark it and go back and check and that kind of thing. So I was, and it's a bit of it's a new thing, so it's a trial for our Lincoln Street area. It mentions in the report that we would be removing the meters for those spots, and I'm just suggesting, which would be outside of the bylaw, I assume, but just suggesting that perhaps that need not be done immediately in the first year, and that some other signage could be affixed to the meter or whatever, to see how it rolls out and if it works the way we hope it does. And if so, and we still think the meter should be removed, you know, a year hence or something, then that's a possible thing to do. So that was just a thought that I throw out for everyone's consideration. And the other, let's see, where I did have one other question thrown in here somewhere. Oh, just one, and again, around the short-term parking as a part of the bylaw, just wondered if the title paid parking bylaw, because we have those little anomalies mixed in, is still 100% accurate if we'd want to add paid and regulated parking or something similar to the title. But that's kind of just a, again, minor thought. But thanks. Well done.
Okay, those are changes that can be made, like, because we can bag the meters, like you can buy bags to put over the meters, proper bags to put over for a year for a trial if we want. I do agree that probably removing the meters and then possibly putting them back is not only a costly proposition, but also time consuming for our staff. So maybe we can look at that. So there is a recommendation there. Is anybody prepared to move that recommendation? Councillor Fullerton?
I move that council approve the second and final reading of the paid parking bylaw, thereby repealing bylaw number 20, the parking meter bylaw.
It's been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Babineau. Any further discussion or question on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. Now we'll move on to 11.2, budget increase request, town hall roof replacement. The report by Lisa. I assume Tyson's here.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening to everyone. This evening, I'm presenting the report prepared by the municipal engineer relating to a budget increase for town hall roof replacement project that's underway at the moment. So the recommendation in the report is that council approve a $50,000 increase to the town hall roof replacement budget to raise it to $360,000 with all the funding from deed transfer tax. So quick background. Back on September 22, 2025, council awarded the roof replacement at Town Hall project to Acadia Roofing. The tender came in, I think it's fair to say, a bit lower than we expected based on the budget. So 228,367 was the value awarded to Acadia Roofing and Contracting. The total budget was $310,000. The work got underway early this year, and there was some additional deterioration found in the fascia boards on the dormers around Town Hall. So there was a bit of a delay in getting in the contractor being able to source an adequate supplier. Just the nature of this building with the heritage requirements, and it wasn't easy material to track down. And in the end, we did get a price that is in line with those heritage requirements. So it's the change order request is for $66,443, and it adds about between 3 and 4 weeks worth of work to the contractor's scope to perform the work required. So staff are recommending the increase in the budget to $360,000 so that we would retain some of that contingency. It would still give us about a $28,000 contingency. So if we run into other unforeseen occurrences, we're not necessarily bringing it back to council again unless it's larger than that. So there would be the option to approve a smaller increase to the budget to cover solely the fascia boards for the dormers. But if we run into anything else, I'm delivering a similar report for your consideration again. So that's really the choice you have. The revised breakdown of the budget is at the bottom of the second page. In terms of the schedule, it with the additional work, if we were to get approval tonight, this extra work would be completed by the end of June, and the whole project should be completed by the end of July. So it's taking a little bit longer than we'd hoped, but it's construction with unforeseen items. The contractor is very keen to continue with the work. They need this approved in order to do so. That concludes the report. If there are questions, can address them.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Tyson? Councillor Fullerton?
Not a question, but a comment. My instinct is to go for the 360 and leave the existing contingency be, because as we go into our July schedule for meetings, there'll be less opportunity for us to meet and discuss. And if we don't need it, that's great. We don't need it.
Through the chair. So we'd be taking $20,000 of the original contingency with the proposed budget increase. But it would leave us some in case and may mitigate some delays to the project. You're correct there.
Any other comments? Deputy Mayor?
I'd be happy to move the recommendation that council approve a $50,000 increase to the town hall roof replacement budget to raise it to $360,000, including the net HST, with funding from the deed transfer tax.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Fullerton. I will ask the question on the motion. So Councillor Fullerton had a suggestion to go to 360 and leave the 48,000 in the contingency, which would be different than the motion we're making, if I'm not mistaken, because we're actually taking 20 out of that contingency to get to the amount we need. Am I not correct?
Through the chair, in order to retain the full $48,000 contingency, we'd need to revise the budget to $380,000.
And the 50,000 increase would be 70,000 in the motion. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I bring that up because that was a question that was suggested. So we're making a motion on the original recommendation. So before we actually vote on that motion, we can make some amendments if we want, but if we don't, we can vote on the motion. I'm just bringing that to everybody's attention. Deputy Mayor?
I appreciate the thought that we want to make sure that there's sufficient funds available to make sure the job gets done. So I think that might be behind the suggestion that there be a higher increase, but I'm kind of betting with the staff that they've got a better handle on what it might be, and there's still some contingency in the amount that's asked. So I'm comfortable with the recommendation as it was presented, but happy to hear from others.
Any other comments? Councillor Fullerton?
You're fairly confident that what you're asking for is going to cover the difference. So, and there's still, according to the original calculations, if we're looking at a $28,000 original contingency, there's still another $8,000 there if we need it. Is that correct?
Through the chair. So originally in the $310,000 budget, there was a $48,000 contingency. So we're talking about adding 50 to that, which would get us to 98. And then the value of this work is the 66,443, but essentially that's $70,000 when we add the net HST. So it's the 98 minus the 70. So under the $360,000 total budget that we're proposing, we would still retain $28,000 of contingency once this extra is performed. So I know it's a little bit confusing. If I can explain it a better way, I'm happy to.
No, we just want to make sure you have enough to get it finished, just in case.
So we would still have $28,000 for something unforeseen or a change.
No, thank you to staff. If you remember back in capital budgeting time, probably a year ago, we were thinking it was going to be over 700,000 to do the roof. And 3 years ago this month, it was said it was going to be millions to do the roof. So I think if we can do it for under $400,000, we're doing quite well. So great job. There is a motion on the floor and it's seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, thank you. Motion carried unanimous. So next is Lunenburg request to waive Nova Scotia Power installation fees, Lunenburg daycare. So this is Paul, who's not here. So is that you, Kayla, or okay?
So as you'll see in your agenda package, the recommendation before council this evening is to consider waiving the costs associated with the NS Power installation work related to site servicing, the upgrades connected to the Lunenburg daycare expansion project. So just for clarity, this is not a direct cash grant or check being issued by the town. What's being proposed is that the town would absorb or just not recover the costs associated with that work, which we're saying is estimated at approximately $28,000. The daycare would then recognize that as an in-kind municipal contribution as a part of their broader funding applications for further project support. And then just noting, council has already supported this project through waiving development and permit fees, which was a motion of council in 2025. So in a nutshell, that's the request. If council has any questions, I will try my best to answer them.
Thank you, Kayla. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor?
Thanks. I think we do need to clarify that the fees that are required are for our electric utility to have work done. Now it'd be performed through our contractor, which is Nova Scotia Power, but it is not a Nova Scotia Power fee, it would be a Lunenburg electric fee, because everything that's done in the town of Lunenburg with regard to electricity is through the Lunenburg electric utility. So I would suggest that the recommendation sound more like that council approve financing the upgrades, the electric upgrades to the required by the Lunenburg daycare center expansion project, because the electric utility is so the period, but the that would mean and I would request that staff subsequently provide for us what that looks like from a financial accounting perspective, which is kind of noted in further in the report, because it's the electric utility is a standalone budget. It is a separate organization. The town of Lunenburg, who is being asked to cover those fees, has the ability to do that, where our electric utility does not have the ability to waive its own fees. So it would have to show up in some way, shape, or form as a grant from the town, as I understand it. So I think it's a little unclear here. So I think just in the way it's presented. So I have no problem with covering the costs. I'm just not quite sure how that looks in a financial reporting or from a financial reporting perspective. And I would like to have some clarity on that. So if I'm okay to approve the recommendation that the fees be covered by a town entity. But I'm not, I'd want to include some mention of what that looks like financially for the public record.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Councillor Fullerton?
Will the work carry over into the next fiscal year as well? That would be the other point with the financial piece of it that I would want clarification for.
I'm quite sure the work is happening ASAP. That's all part of the upgrades we're starting to do there and go down continue down Montague Street. So I know there's a bit more work there going on for the daycare, but it's basically improving the electrical capacity in that area that we had planned to do, eventually anyways. So it's, the daycare work itself would probably be a little extra, but that whole line, as we've been told, has to be replaced and upgraded. So to my knowledge, I think this is this year, in this fiscal year project. I want to say run into problems, right? I mean, I will say that with the permits and now the electrical, I think we're contributing, right now it's going to be almost $45,000 to the project, which is significant, but I think it's definitely well worth it with the, increase of capacity in the daycare. There are people that currently can't work. That would love to work in town, but they don't have childcare. So again, this council and the previous council actually were willing to give them land, to sidewalk upgrades. I mean, we were probably talking $1 million to put a sidewalk down Star Street, which would have had to be done eventually. So again, I think that we're very fortunate they decided to do the expansion rather than the brand new build, quite frankly, from a financial standpoint. But again, I think some of the points that the deputy mayor raised, we can just have more clearly defined when our CAO gets back, and he might know, right? But he's gone to a conference. So, but if everybody's okay with getting those questions sort of answered when the CAO gets back, if someone's prepared to move the first recommendation at this point, I think it's in order. Okay, go ahead there, Councillor Babineau.
Sure. I move that council approve the waiver of fees associated with the Nova Scotia Power installation and related site upgrades for the Lunenburg Daycare Center expansion project.
Moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Strong. Any further discussion or question on the motion? Oh, Deputy Mayor.
I really don't think it's appropriate that we have Nova Scotia Power in our motion. I support the motion, but would suggest an amendment to just take that name off and say with associated with the electrical installation related site upgrades, electrical upgrades. And also I again, waiver of fees. It is not within the electrical utilities ability to waive fees. So to cover costs for the town, the council approve covering the costs of fees associated with the electrical and related site upgrades for the Lunenburg Daycare expansion project.
Just to make it a little bit more general to what the deputy mayor is saying, perhaps we could entertain a motion more like that council approved municipal in-kind support related to the electrical servicing requirements for the Lunenburg Daycare expansion project. And so then that's still committing that in-kind support, but not necessarily waiving fees, not necessarily naming a certain entity. So if there was comfort with something more like that, that would require an amendment to Councillor Babineau's initial moved motion.
If that's kind of what you were aiming at, then yeah, I'm happy with that amendment.
Is it okay with the seconder? Okay, so the motion has been amended by the mover and seconder. So now we're going to vote on the amended motion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Now there is a second request in front of us. Is someone prepared to move that request? Councillor Strong.
I'm just curious, is this just a blanket approval of a letter of support that would be used for any application? Or is it specifically, I've read it and that's what I think it's been, the request is, but I'm not, I want to be positive on that. Applications, it says. There's an S on application.
So my understanding is we have already provided letters of support to the daycare to help with their further as they continue to seek funding. So by issuing this notice or this one, it would still follow like the administrative procedures that in general, council does support helping them go for grant funding, but those would still get filtered through and shared with council and staff. So you know what, I'm not quite sure what the ask is for this specific one. I think it's probably in the report there. There is a letter, apologies, I'm just looking for that. So I think it is the second letter attached. So on page 39 of your agenda package.
Is this a letter from Nicole?
Yes. We would also kindly request a formal letter of support in our ongoing grant and funding applications. A letter from council. So I would say this would be just more of a generic one to say, like, in principle, the town of Lunenburg and its council supports the daycare expansion projects. We have provided municipal in-kind services of electric requirement. We know what we just did. And as far as development permits and building, this is what we've done to support the project, and we see the benefit in our community. Apologies for that.
I have no problem with that. And we've been doing it for, it appears like 50 years. So I'm prepared to make the motion.
You want to, Deputy Mayor?
Well, no, I was just going to second it.
Okay,
Sorry.
Councillor Strong, do you want to read it out?
Okay, I move that council approve a letter of support for the Lunenburg Daycare Center project in their pursuit of grant funding.
Moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion or question on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. Now 11.4, community grants allocation for the PIEMunchers. So, Jamie, you're up.
All right, good evening. So this is a request to have an expedited grant allocation of the community grants program to PIEMunchers, and you support an amount of $500 to support their participation in the Canada Cup of Robotics in Niagara Falls, Ontario. This goes back to a request that came in originally on March 24th meeting. Some background: PIEMunchers are 4 students from Blue Nose Academy's grade 4 class. They attended the first annual Lego Robotics Provincial Championships at Acadia University. The PIEMunchers competed against many students from around the province and students much older than them. From the event, they're now provincial champions, hooray. As such, they'll be competing in the Canada Cup of Robotics at Brock University this June in Ontario. I think that's June 17th to 20th. Cost for attending nationals is $12,000. Currently have the GoFundMe page to help with fundraising for this event. And the town received the letter that's in the report. So the Community Grants Ad Hoc Committee met on May 15th to review the applications, and we made a lot of progress. We still have a few to follow up on, but this one is particularly timely as they do need to raise their amount. They need to raise it before the next council meeting would approve whatever the ad hoc committee comes up with in the interim. So yes, so basically PIEMunchers are looking for $500 to support them. Some background: they've already raised, I think, $5,600 through a GoFundMe, about $3,000, I think, through community organizations, companies in the community, and then I think another $350 through bake sales and that sort of level of fundraising activity. So they're probably just under $10,000 right now. So this would probably put them a little closer to total.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Jamie? Okay, you want to read the motion out?
Yeah, I'm going to move that council approve an expedited grant allocation under the Community Grants Program to PIEMunchers in the amount of $500 to support their participation in the Canada Cup of Robotics in Niagara Falls, Ontario.
It's been moved. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Fullerton. Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor.
Go PIEMunchers.
I'd also like to add again a big shout out to the community. I mean, they've raised $10,000 in a short time through the support of our local citizens and business community and others. So again, once again, the community, comes together to support local initiatives like that. So, bringing home from Niagara Falls. So all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. Now we're on to upcoming council meeting schedules. There is a recommendation there. Is there any questions or discussion on that recommendation? Someone prepared to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Fullerton. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Strong. Is there any discussion on that motion? I will just add that there are two people. Well, I'll be one of them that are missing, and we're actually representing that we're going for a municipal conference. So we're actually representing the town while we're away. We're not going on vacation. So just thought I'd make that point. So all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. Notice of motion, information requesting council reports. I'll start to my right tonight. Councillor Strong.
Well, I've been quiet for the last few council reports. Meetings continue to go on that I sit on. At Harborview Haven was yesterday, and another one this coming Friday. Lunenburg Academy Foundation and the South Shore Regional School Board welcomes the Zoe Valley Library into its circulation fold. That's some news for the larger community. I attended last week the Lunenburg Board of Trade community event, which was well attended. It was packed, actually. And some of us had to trot down the street to the Lunenburg Foundation of the Arts lecture by the architect who has designed the addition to the Lunenburg daycare and also the new boat building shed in Halifax that goes along with the museum there. Really happily enjoyed an evening at the opera at Lamp on Saturday night and a belated birthday to the mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Daphne.
This Thursday night at 7 p.m. at the Lunenburg School of the Arts is the launch of the fundraising campaign for the Connaught Ruland House. Please come out and hear what we have planned. Secondly, I have a conundrum, I think. I don't know. If I look at us around the table as not as, I can't even count, 6, 8 people. I look at us as all the people in the town. And it kind of I don't know what it does to me, but if you're asking for the town a sum of money or a waiver of fees or an in-kind donation, yes, you're asking us around the table, but you're also asking your fellow residents, your neighbors, your coworkers. And for me, I just feel that if you're doing something like that, you need to come to council. You need to put a face to things. For me, it is more of a connection than just reading it on the iPad or on the documents. So just a thought, but just that's where I'm coming from. Thirdly, I have up and running on my council page a soccer giveaway because, as Jamie knows, we played soccer all the way up through. Some of us were good, some of us weren't. some of us have concussions and probably shouldn't have played after a couple concussions, but who cares, right? So anyways, the soccer giveaway, I'm offering a Coca-Cola FIFA duffel bag, soccer ball, and a pump for, if all I'm asking for is that you're a kid, you draw a picture of you playing soccer, and you just post it on the page. So far, there's only one entry. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. He's going to love the kit bag because not only is it soccer, it is Coke. Other than that, I want to say go Habs, but I think we're running out of steam.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Babineau.
I just remembered, I was going to say I had nothing to report, but I just remembered that the muffin run is coming up. And if you would like to see one of your councillors run again, feel free to come out and cheer me on.
Councillor Greig.
Nothing to report this evening.
Councillor Fullerton.
Just a few quick items. That Thursday is a busy day in Bridgewater. We're attending the Soda Roundtable. We are also invited to participate in Beyond the Band-Aid session being held by the Department of Public Health and other stakeholders in the evening. So it's going to be a full agenda in Bridgewater on Thursday. Saturday, other councillors and myself are attending an annual event for the Neptune 39 Sea Cadets here in Lunenburg. And on Saturday night at the Opera House is a fundraising concert called Give Me Shelter, and that is for Second Story Women's Center. That's all I have.
Thank you. Just a few things. One, this Saturday actually is a huge fundraiser at the golf course for the JCC golf event for the Jennifer Collins Classic. They have a hockey tournament in March that we're all aware of, and they started about 4 years ago with a golf event in the spring. So that is this Saturday, all day at the Blue Nose Golf Course. So again, hope for good weather. And like I said earlier, I'll be leaving next week for basically, I'm at a 4-day conference in Edmonton. So unfortunately, I'll have to pass on the muffin run this year. I'm very disappointed in that. And that's all I have to report. So I'll move on now to number 12, items for consideration. And here we're being asked to consider the meeting on the 2nd be canceled or postponed until September because we're not planning to meet committee of the whole in the summer. So are we okay with that? I guess staff was just looking for direction. So
That's just a reminder there that as that was a part of the last report, as we transition into our summer schedule, we don't do the committee of the whole, but always it's very easy if there is a need or if operationally something arises, we would get in touch to schedule a meeting. So just so you're aware of summer's coming.
So are we good with that then? Okay, we don't need a motion for that. Okay, the motion action list is just there for so we know what's on there, and there is a motion. Okay, the council removed the housing market study from the motion action list. Is someone prepared to move that? Moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by Councillor Fullerton. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. We do have actually one item to go into closed session on. So I guess we need a motion for that to go into closed sessions. Moved by Councillor Strong, seconded by Councillor Babineau. Thank you very much, everybody.